Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, The Employee Experience, 5 Retention Strategies. Our presenter today is Melissa Asher, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition and Training and Development with CPS HR Consulting. Before we begin, I'd like to go over just a few pieces of information about the webinar. To avoid interruptions to the presentation, all attendees are in listen-only mode. You can still ask questions, and we encourage you to do so using the Q&A panel in your webinar dashboard. We'll make every effort to address your questions at the end of the presentation as time allows. Today's presentation is available on the CPS HR Consulting website and also as a handout in your webinar dashboard. We'll also forward a link to all of today's attendees once the recording is available for viewing. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Melissa.
Thank you, Julie, and I'm so happy to be with you all here today. I'm kind of recovering a little bit from a cold, so if my voice sounds a little muffled or you hear an occasional cough or sneeze, you'll know why. But no way was I going to miss this today. As Julie said, here at CPS HR, my role is leading our talent acquisition and training and development divisions, and I've been in this space for almost 15 years now. I definitely have seen a lot of different things, a lot of trends, and hence one of the things that has really bubbled to the top, I think, in our world today is retention. So we wanted to spend some time with you today to talk a little bit about that. And speaking of kind of context on that, I mentioned that this topic has bubbled to the top. I would say 2-3 years ago, nobody was talking about retention. In fact, retention was kind of a word you didn't hear. When you brought it up, it just didn't seem to be a concern. It was crickets. It wasn't really an issue. We had fewer people in the workplace. It was kind of a time where we weren't able to really hire a lot of people. Perhaps we had gone through that whole right sizing. And in fact, sometimes when people were retiring or moving on, it kind of helped us, at least on the budget side of things. So we weren't as interested in talking about retention strategies. We longed for the days when we could actually hire new people and when we had resources to throw at those employees. Well, fast forward to today. Today we have a very different landscape. Today we're standing in a recruiting desert. Do you feel parched? Because that's kind of how it feels right now. It is very difficult to recruit in our current environment, and that means we really can't afford to lose any of the employees we currently have, and it is in our best interest to more fully develop and engage those employees that we do have. It's a tough environment. You know, with unemployment rates, California, I think the national average is around 4%. California unemployment rate, I pulled some statistics, is at 4.2%. If you go to North Dakota, they're at 2.6% unemployment. I don't know if they realize it snows there, but anyways, Colorado, 3%. Just across the country, we're at really low unemployment rates. So it's hard to find people, and because it's hard to find them, it takes more effort, there's more time, and there's more cost to finding them. So recruiting isn't as easy as it used to be, and this is making retention, I think, top of mind for folks. Not to mention cost. We all know there is a cost when you are bringing on new hires. Josh Burson, who's HR guru, he puts the range between 1 to 2 times salary in some cases. This particular graph here kind of, I think, illustrates it. When you first hire and onboard someone, you're in the investment zone. The organization is putting a lot of time into helping the new employee learn systems, learn the culture, learn the service, learn the customer base. There's just a lot of time and effort, and that translates into money often, into bringing that person into a space where they are more productive, where we get into that return zone, and the organization is really getting high value now from that employee. They're trained, maybe now they're able to take on new assignments, and this is where employee engagement often comes in, and you see that little pink line. We want people to be on that little pink line where they're not only on the upward trajectory, but they're kind of 10% above that. They're giving that discretionary effort because they are engaged, because they feel valued, because the organization is investing in different strategies and different efforts that help them be retained. So this is another compelling reason why we today are going to look at 5 different strategies for retention. I'll be the first to say these are not the only strategies out there. There are lots and lots of strategies to retain employees based on what we are seeing as CPS HR and the work that we are doing based in the recruiting space, in the training and development space, and in the employee engagement space. These 5 strategies are the ones that have bubbled to the top for what we're seeing and the research that we have done. I did quite a bit of research in preparation for this as well to validate a lot of what we were thinking, and that's why we ended up on these 5. But by all means, this is not an exhaustive list. We're going to start with one that might surprise you. We're going to start with harnessing your data. And we really can't talk about data today without starting with artificial intelligence. This has kind of really taken over our systems. You're probably experiencing it in ways that you don't even know you're experiencing it. And if you're kind of plugged in, well, really even all of the mainstream media networks, there are different articles and different newscasts coming out about, what is this artificial intelligence? What is it going to mean for the future of our workforce? And I'm wondering, well, how does this affect the public sector? Recently, I attended a LinkedIn conference, which was focused on recruitment and development, and as you know, LinkedIn focuses more on the private sector. They were talking all about this, and their CEO shared some interesting statistics. 51% of work activities in the U.S. are susceptible to artificial intelligence. 400 to 800 million jobs could be displaced by 2030. That doesn't mean they necessarily go away, but they'll be doing different things when they say displaced. KPMG agrees along this line, saying that 45% of the workplace activities can actually already be automated using existing demonstrated technology. So this to me strikes a little bit of a chord of fear, which is not where we want to take this, because AI, I ultimately do believe, is going to help us do our jobs better. It's going to allow us to be more effective and doing less routine types of transactional tasks. And the good news for us that LinkedIn and all of these private sector companies are talking about this is they're going to figure this out. They're cutting their teeth on this technology. There is an enormous amount of investment going into technology solutions to harness this, to try to figure out, what do we do with all of this data? How do we use machine learning to make sense of all of this data? And really where it's going, I think for us in the HR realm, is around predictive analytics. How do we harness the data that we have at our fingertips so that we can get better at predicting who will be the best hire, so we can get better at predicting what we need to do to retain employees and engage employees? I think that's where it's really going for us. And I like this particular slide because this kind of, I think, boils down, what is this AI thing all about? And there are definitely levels to it. And we've probably experienced class 1 levels of this if you've engaged with or seen a chatbot in any of your meanderings on the website. If you've seen a chatbot, chances are that chatbot is actually run by some sort of an artificial something in the background, even though it might be named Jessica or Rob or Simon or what have you. And you can kind of tell because of the way the text come in, maybe a lot of typing comes in really, really quickly, or at a certain point, it seems like you are passed off to now a person because the chatbot has kind of exhausted its keyword search. So that you're already experiencing, even if you don't realize it. I think the place that we can really learn from and harness for retention is in the class 2, which is the learning part, where we're taking lots of data that is structured and unstructured, and that's difficult. Unstructured data is harder to make sense of, but that's what this learning piece does. Pulling in all of these data points, looking at accuracy ratings. So based on the data points, the automation, the system might make a hypothesis, put forth a suggestion, and then we can see over time how accurate that was. So over time, these accuracy ratings will help us understand and recognize these patterns and get better and better, having the automated system point us in the right direction. Now, class 3 reasoning is a little bit beyond where I'm at. I mean, this is full-blown automation here. Things like using drones to canvas crops, to make some assessments around health, and I mean, really sophisticated things. So we're not going to go there today, but I wanted to focus in on that learning piece, and on this slide it's called employee satisfaction, but really what we're going to be talking about here is how do we use this type of data to help us with retaining employees. And here's a case study that comes from IBM. And they're doing this already, and they're calling it proactive retention. And they're using analytics and machine learning to calculate relative importance of retention risk factors. So they're looking at a lot of different things for any one individual employee: location, pay, job type, what are the skills, maybe what is their career track. And they are trying to get better at predicting when someone might be at risk. So when we say analytics, really that just means we're collecting data. And when we say machine learning, we're just talking about trying to identify patterns. And then those will be used to create decision support tools. So envision a dashboard where a supervisor or manager can kind of take a look at not only maybe their group as a whole, but really drilling down to the individual level to see who is at risk, or maybe what types of positions are at risk. I venture you already know a lot of that information. You know, what are your high turnover positions? You probably already know that. Are there certain factors for employees that then exacerbate that? So those are the types of things that IBM is looking at. And it takes more of a whole employee approach to thinking about this, which is probably, it takes a little bit more time because we're down to that individual employee level. But to be able to retain your employees, it's probably worth it to create more of a personalized experience for them. Because let's face it, your employees are all at different places. I'm a very different employee today than I was when I entered the workforce. I'm a different employee than I was when I first had kids. My kid is getting ready to go off to college. You know, I have very different things going on within my life that affect me and how I am and my goals and how engaged I am at work. So these are the types of things that IBM is trying to pull together into one way to give supervisors a way to look differently at who is at risk and what strategies they might need on an individual basis. Another thing IBM is doing around AI is skill matching, because an important piece is, or do people feel like they're growing in their careers? You know, are there opportunities that are available to them? And what the skill match program does is it's an algorithm where employees will put in their data. You know, what are their skills? What are their interests? You know, where are they growing? What learning? What certifications? What education do they have? And then matches that with openings that have minimum qualifications, certification requirements, learning opportunities. Puts all of those together, and it's career matching. I mean, it's, I guess, a dating website, but it's for careers, right? So we're helping to match people with career opportunities that would be suited to them, that they would be interested in, and that the company would be looking to offer to someone to retain them, to keep them growing and engaged in the organization. So it's a really nice way to learn about your internal workforce and do that internal matching. Now, of course, IBM is a very large company. They've got opportunities all over the world, so the larger your organization is, the more applicability this might have. But even in smaller organizations, if you're cataloging skills, what people's skills are, what their interests are, that is valuable data. You don't need an automated system probably to catalog that, and then to be looking for opportunities that come up. ProFinda this is a startup. This is another interesting case where AI is being used. LinkedIn uses this now, and I do want to caution this is a startup. Again, when I was doing my research, I was trying to look for some good examples here, and this is a system that pulls in data, like we've been talking about, from lots of different sources. It could be your ERP, your Enterprise Resource Program. It could be your CRM, maybe it's your Contact Resource Management. Maybe it's your ATS, your Applicant Tracking System. I mean, lots of acronyms down there. You pick your acronym for your HR system, but it even can pull in information from email and from your LinkedIn profile to, again, try to match employees with either a job opportunity, an internal job opportunity, or internal development opportunity. So this is the power of AI. So get ready for this. If you have NeoGov or Cornerstone or, fill in the blank, probably, SAP is well down the road, Workday, for this. These systems are going to start baking this data collection and the patterning into their system. So in the public sector, we're not there yet, but we're going to benefit from all of this testing that's going on in the private sector. And so I wanted to bring it up. This is more of an emergent strategy because I do think even right now, there are some things that you can be doing. But before we go to some of the things that maybe you can do right now, Julie, let's do our first poll, because I want to know, what do you think about this? I mean, what do you think about where this is going?
So please select only one answer, and your choices are, this is too futuristic, or it's about time, or just wake me up when it's all over with. So easy poll to answer. I'm seeing a very clear leader on this. And responses are rolling right in. We'll give it just a few more seconds. So please make your selection, and we will wrap it up just in the next couple of seconds. Okay. And it looks like we have them all. We close that and share the results. Okay.
It's about time. Oh my gosh, this is the best audience ever. Okay, good.
70% was it's about time.
That's awesome, right? It seems so obvious with all the data points that we have coming at us to be able to find some way to compile all of these and make more sense of them. Okay, fantastic. It is a little futuristic, for a quarter of us out there. I agree sometimes. I'm reading this stuff and wondering, oh my goodness, really going to happen. But glad to know that we're in this space together, and many of you are thinking, all right, bring it on. Okay, well, so bring it on. Now we're going to bring it down, I guess, because what can we actually do now in the public sector that will fit into this? There's a lot of ways, a lot of data you can be collecting now. Many of us do exit interviews. I would encourage you to do stay interviews. So why is it that people are staying by the time they're leaving and we've lost them? But who are your superstars? Who are the people, maybe your top performers, or really just who are your solid employees? Why are they staying? What are the key factors for them? If you're not doing any kind of engagement surveying or any kind of way to gauge engagement of your employees, I would encourage you to do that as well. That is a key metric. And really, I would say recruiting, engaging, and retaining are all very related. The strategies we're talking about here today will work to also engage our employees as well as to recruit employees. So think about that as a data point for you to collect. Definitely, we talked about collecting people's experience and skills, cataloging those, as well as performance data. The next part is your analysis, and you can do that pattern analysis yourself. You can identify outliers. Sometimes those outliers are very interesting to kind of drill down on a little bit more. And the third part is really involve the supervisor and manager in this. We want them to be very transparent, right? We want them to have access to the data. We want them to freely have these conversations with their employees. We know that people leave their jobs sometimes because of their supervisor. So the more informed the supervisor is, the more comfortable the supervisor is about what are these critical data points, what are the things in our organization that make people stay or lead people to go. That's what we want the supervisor to be aware of, trained in, and comfortable. Okay, well, let's go to strategy number 2. And strategy number 2 is about owning your environment. And what do I really mean by that? Yeah, I'm going to use the C word, culture. Culture is important. 86% of companies rate work culture as a top priority, and that has increased 20% over data. Deloitte, data comes from Deloitte since 2016. 95% of job candidates believe culture is more important than compensation. Yeah, so think about that for a minute. Think about if you're really happy with your environment, you are probably willing to stay where compensation might not be as attractive, but because it's a great place to work, because you're enjoying the work, you're willing to stay. That's good news for us in the public sector. That's a space we can thrive in. It really becomes a competitive advantage. It is difficult to replicate a great culture and becomes a very strong magnet. And I'm going to use that word because we want to create talent magnet organizations. So if you have a magnetic culture, you're going to attract and retain. Oracle did a study recently about how to create a talent magnet organization. And one of their key findings was to stay focused on your values. I thought that was really pretty interesting. And so here, the frequency with which values observed or considered before taking an action really rings true to employees. They can tell by the actions and the messaging and communications that go out, how well are you as an organization staying true to what you say is important to you. And when you do that, when you stay true, when you create processes and communications that are true to your values, that is going to cause your culture to be strengthened. And that is, you will draw in people who are attracted to those values and who will thrive in those particular values. So pay attention to your talent processes, like goal setting, performance management, training, benefits administration. How are those processes? If you have a value of excellent customer service, then when your employees are going through performance management or they're needing to get help with a benefit, I would hope that you have a system that makes it very easy for them to get the information that they need, that they feel valued, that they feel like they are being treated as an excellent customer. And this has to spread across the organization. It can't just be in the public works department, or in the accounting department. I mean, really, what Oracle study said is organizationally, know your values, create your processes that reflect those values, and that will be a magnet for creating a very positive culture and will pull in the people you want. And most importantly, retain those employees. So they talk about a 4-step process here using an employee experience map. What is the employee's experience? How are those related to, or how are those experiences reflected of your stated values? Be honest about what your employees should be expecting, and deliver on that. You need to be true to yourself. So if customer service really isn't your value, maybe your value is self-sufficiency, right? Okay, well then you're going to want to attract employees who like self-service types of portals. See, and now you've got a good match. You're matching up your value of self-sufficiency with employees who prefer to be do-it-yourselfers. So that's what this whole means, align your talent processes to create this true culture where the organization and employees will be at the right place at the right time. It's a good match. I mean, a lot of times people leave because the organization wasn't as expected, the job wasn't as expected, or the opportunity wasn't as promised. So think about that. Make sure that your processes, your expectations, all those things are aligned with reality. We talked, the name of this is the employee experience. What are they experiencing now? What do you want them to be experiencing? What are your top performers like about what they're experiencing, and replicate that? It's a driver. Culture is a key driver. We know from a lot of the research that's been done recently that the generation coming in now, they want purpose, they want belonging, and they want to feel empowered in their job. So, what does that mean? So, for purpose, give them a why. Like, why should they work for your organization? Again, it kind of goes back to those values. What should draw them in? And then keep them challenged. People don't like to stagnate, and we need to keep them challenged. If you've got people maybe who are stagnating, challenging them might give them a little bit of a jolt, right? A little bit of a jolt to be more engaged in the why. And sometimes people need to see the results. And for us in the public sector, the results are really, what are we doing for our communities? What are we doing for our constituents? How is the work that we might be doing in our cubicle, at our desk, translating to better health care? How is it translating to helping the homeless crisis, right? Show them there is a line back to them. This is where your supervisors really can be strong. Belonging. People need to feel like they belong. And there's the Gallup Q12 has a question. One of their questions, which I never really kind of understood until recently, was, do you have a best friend at work? And I thought, well, what does that really have to do with how engaged I am at work? But I think it has to do with belonging. If I have people at work that I can identify with and that I feel are friends, I feel more like I belong. I feel more part of the team. And you'll hear from really high-performing organizations and really organizations with low retention is that they feel like a family. I think that's where this belonging piece comes in. So what are the things that you can do with teams? Are there work gatherings that you can do? Are there potlucks? A lot of times these things happen organically. Sometimes if you just kind of leak out that you give permission for these things to happen organically, then people will do them at lunchtime, or they might gather after work, or maybe we're celebrating a wedding or a baby shower or something like that. So think about what are the things you can do to help people feel like they are belonging. And then empowerment is important too. And I take that in two different directions. One might be around flexibility. What kind of flexibility can you give people? We talked earlier about looking at employees with a whole person kind of a lens, and that means they bring in to work with them all of the stresses and the triumphs of their life. So sometimes perhaps they need to leave a little bit early to take care of maybe an elderly family member. Or maybe there's a soccer game. There's lots of different things that people need and experience in their outside of work life. So what are some ways that perhaps you as an employer can be a little bit more flexible with some of those work hours and some of those work places? Now, in many cases, it's not realistic to work 100% remotely. we get that. And I think employees understand that. But what are some small things that you might consider? And then another idea might be is, do you encourage engagement with the community? Do you allow maybe some time for employees to go out and to do some charitable work within the community? That's an interesting way for people to feel empowered, both at the job because they feel supported by their employer, but also within their community. It's almost like a double impact there. So in terms of your culture, I would encourage you to think about some of those ideas as new approaches. So I'd like to ask you all, though, what do you think can help, or maybe what have you seen help create a magnetic culture in the public sector? We've got lots of folks online who have experiences. What are some of the things? And I want you to use the chat box and just like a text, send in a little text on the Q&A. What are some things that you have seen work really well? And Julie will help us out here by reading. We'll just get a couple of these. We won't take a lot of time on this, but I always like to learn a little bit from the audience too.
Okay, so having an effective mission, vision, and value statement. Someone else says potlucks. Great. Someone else talks about a retention committee that they have at their employer.
That's a great idea.
Right. And expanding on the retention committee, they come up with, I guess, it says they come up with activities for the employees. Someone else says competent managers, high visibility achievements organization-wide.
Oh, okay. Well, now they're getting ahead of the presentation. Okay, those are great ideas, and you guys are already, fantastic. You're already looking ahead to one of our other strategies.
Getting out of work and participating in team-building activities.
Excellent.
Regular staff meetings to communicate what's going on throughout the city and not just our department.
Oh, I love that. That really speaks to the results, right?
Right. That direction and focus.
Yep. Connecting those dots. Great ideas, everyone. Fantastic. Okay, well, we'll move into our strategy number 3, which is well-being. And although, cash is part of probably well-being, at least if you think about Maslow's hierarchy, pyramid, which says that foundational piece is about being, safe and secure, and so having a certain amount of compensation is important. What we're really talking about here is things over and above compensation, because there is a fair amount of evidence to say that compensation is not the overriding factor for why people stay or leave, but there does need to be that foundational piece. People need to feel that they are making enough compensation to do the things that they are looking to do in their life. This data from SHRM does show, again, that compensation is a factor there in the middle of the screen, showing that, 26% of people are very satisfied with their compensation, and 61% feel that compensation is very important. So we can't ignore that. But as we know in the public sector, this really cannot be the overriding driver for us. We're not in public sector work for the money. I think that's a fair statement.
That's a fair statement.
Feel free to disagree with me, but in my experience, working vast majority of my career in the public sector, that is the case. But you can see here there are some other drivers here that contribute to employee satisfaction, respectful treatment, trust, job security, opportunities to use your skills and abilities at work. All of these things are important, and these are things that we can do very well, I think, in the public sector. So I want to also suggest that we probe a little bit more in this well-being realm around the whole person. So this research comes from Bob Kelleher, who is an employee engagement guru, and he wrote a book, I Engage, a Personal Engagement Roadmap, And you can tell I took this picture with my iPhone. I couldn't find this anywhere online to reproduce, and I just really wanted to share it with you all because these are all factors around well-being that play into a person's satisfaction, motivation, engagement, whatever word you want to use in the workplace. And they might be a little bit different than what you had thought. Like work location is an interesting one. Ease of commute, proximity to amenities, work location vibe, that is a key factor, along with other things like degree of freedom, which we talked a little bit about kind of around that empowerment. Health and well-being is on here, pay and reward supervisor. There are a lot of different things here. And the focus really is to make sure supervisors are thinking about employees as the whole self. And supervisors really need to understand that the employee comes to work and they bring everything with them. Yes, we want them to be focused on work when they're at work, but they can't just turn off these other factors. If they've had a really difficult commute in, if they've got some really challenging personal relationships going on, if we just ignore those, it's actually going to get worse. If we show a little bit of compassion around those, then the employee it's easier for the employee to feel like, okay, I've got this going on, my employer cares, and now I'm going to set those aside and bring my best self that I can into the workplace. So this is why well-being is really important, really understanding that we need to be paying attention to the well-being of our employees and the impact that that has when they come to work. If we show a little bit of compassion, it will go a long way. So to get a little more specific in this, though, I wanted to talk about some specific strategies. And one area where we're seeing a lot of work being done is around financial well-being. What's nice about this is you can partner with maybe your insurance provider, or if you're offering a 457 or some sort of supplemental retirement plan. A lot of those carriers will come in and give seminars and talks for free as part of your package to help employees get educated about how to handle their own finances. And that will help them with their entire well-being. I mean, we all know at some point if you've ever experienced a little bit of financial pressure, it's not a fun place to be. But if we can feel like we're more in control of our finances and how we are paying our bills and various things like that, we're in a much stronger position, and it doesn't affect us as negatively. So I encourage you to reach out to those folks and see what they can do. Can they come in, conduct some seminars? Maybe there's even some coaching that's part of your package that you might not be aware of. SunTrust is a private company, and they set up a program for online and face-to-face training on how to pay down loans, how to apply for a mortgage, how to improve your credit score. Employees who participated in those workshops were given a little bit of financial incentive to do that, and those who completed the program were twice as likely to stay after 18 months. So it translates into people staying longer. So the state of Virginia offers small loans at 1/20th the cost of borrowing from a payday lending industry. So, they partnered with someone, a financial institution, to be able to offer really low-cost loans to their employees. The city of Anaheim, California, the city of Cayuga Falls, Ohio offers something similar. And they report that employees receiving that assistance miss half as much work. And they report an improved ability to concentrate at work. So that's how well-being can really translate to better performance in the workplace. Student loan forgiveness is something certainly for the new generation coming in. We've probably heard about how student loans have really grown. A lot of students coming out of college now, a lot of graduates, they have loans, and it's a big pressure for them. They have to start paying those back. They're gainfully employed. So is there some sort of program or system that you can put into place to think about that? It's kind of, instead of tuition reimbursement, it's now maybe what is the loan forgiveness piece based on longevity. And the last one here is around EAP programs. Really check into your EAP programs. There has been a lot of advancements and a lot of new services coming out of these EAP programs. They've gone 24/7, they've gone mobile, they've gone social, so employees should be able to access these via their phone, they could text, they should be able to email, online chats, hopefully not with a chat bot in this case, but lots of access to these programs on a much more continual basis. We're seeing things like virtual and online clinical sessions. You can visit your doctor, chat with your doctor online now. You can have online web chats with your doctor. Same thing here, but maybe it's more of a clinical session. They have added things like integrated errand running or holistic life coaching. And a lot of them now have comprehensive caretaking referrals for those of us who might be thinking about or are already dealing with some elder care issues. If we have some good resources for caretaking and how to navigate through whatever various systems are out there to help take care maybe of aging parents, how helpful would that be? A lot of these EAP systems have these baked in. So please check in with your EAP programs, ask them what they've added, ask them what they could add. Sometimes they're even including family members, because I know it's hard for me to be at my best if I've got a family member who is maybe medically having some significant difficulties. It's hard for me to be at the top of my game, but if I know my EAP program will extend to my spouse, well, that gives me a little bit of peace of mind, gets back to me being able to focus a little bit more at work. So some ideas in the well-being realm. Of course, I have to spend some time on the strategy of training and development, of course, near and dear to my heart. But, I mean, really, what's happening now is good jobs are ones with good salary, benefits, et cetera. Now a good job is the one that prepares you for your next job. And we want that next job to be in your organization, right? Maybe it's a lateral move, maybe it's a promotion. But we're always preparing for our next job. And when I say job, you could fill in their skill, next project, next process. It's not a job necessarily outside of where you're sitting right now. The fact of the matter is that business skills don't have as long of a lifespan as they used to. This data shows back in 1985, a business skill would last a person about 30 years. They could count on being able to use that skill. In today's workplace, well, it's probably even shorter now in 2019, but in 2014, skills only had a life of about 5 years before you had to learn something new. And just think about the technology, the Microsoft Office platform. I mean, we are on Office 365 now. We're moving into Power BI here at CPS. We're starting to use Microsoft Teams. My skill level on using Outlook is becoming a little bit obsolete because we're moving more to Teams and to Slack and to project management programs where we're collaborating more and we're all talking together on a platform that contains our documents, it contains our stream of communications, it's our chatting, it's our links, it's all kinds of things. So this is why training and development is important to everyone, and we're all feeling that we have to continue building our skills. The good news about that is that that is a great way to keep people engaged and to retain them within your organization. And I want you to think about that in terms of more of a lattice versus a career ladder. What we really want here is what's in the middle, enrichment. We want people growing. It says within existing jobs, but it could also be growing vertically to maybe a promotion, something where we do have increased responsibility in the organization. But a lot of times those lateral moves are just as important and just as fulfilling because you're keeping a person learning. They are growing their skills. They're feeling, again, like the organization is investing in them. The organization wants to help them upskill. It wants to help them to be able to to move into whatever that next computer system is or whatever the next new service that our customer base is looking for. It's all about giving values, and if we develop programs where people can move up, down, sideways, that will be a strong motivator for them to stay with your organization. So some other ideas for you here that some other organizations have tried are things like scholarships. New York City offers $5,000 scholarships to candidates. They have to be nominated to then go to attend a college class or to go pursue a certification, maybe to go to a conference. I mean, are there some things that you can do to sponsor people, sponsor employees to continue their learning? There's 2020 programs. State of California does this in some of their medical areas where you're hired half the time you are apprenticing and training another job. So you're getting ready. Your job is to do one job for 20 hours a week, but the other part of your job is 20 hours learning another job. So now your cross-training is baked in to your day-to-day work. It's a great way to get someone learning new skills, getting them moving in a new direction that is maybe a growing area. Maybe there's a real need in your organization to grow more skills in certain areas. Doing a 2020 program would be an interesting way. It doesn't have to be 2020, it could be 30-10. You know, it could be whatever percentage makes sense for your organization. But think about really baking that in. And of course, continuous learning, we've talked about the half-life of skills. You just need to do it. We can't stay stagnant. Employees who want to stay stagnant are really going to be left behind with all the workplace changes that are coming at us in the public sector. So what is continuous learning? Well, can you rotate people around? Can you rotate them around on a more regular basis? The state of Nebraska, they encourage 15 minutes a day of learning so that it becomes a habit, and they actually partnered with LinkedIn Learning to bring in 5,000 online courses. And they found that it was most effective when they would pair online learning with some other sort of training program or some other on-the-job training so that there would be this reinforcement that 15 minutes a day of learning. What if we did that? YouTube, TED Talks. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can continually keep learning. The state of Louisiana has a supervisory potential tool that they use, and that's an assessment. So just an easy assessment for someone to kind of look at their strengths and weaknesses, and then follow that on with internal training. We're seeing a lot of emerging leader courses. We're seeing a lot of courses around fundamentals, maybe tracks of learning, series that people can take advantage of. So find what are the areas that are growing in your business where you need more skills, and give some people in your organization the opportunity to start learning those things, and it will be a strong retention factor. Those people will feel valued and engaged. I talked about some of these programs. I mean, when you're thinking about those training programs, think about it in the technical arena, maybe for your up-and-coming leaders, and for your supervisors and managers. So our last one is recognition. So this is actually one of my favorites. The case for recognition, I won't read all of these statistics out, but there is strong evidence that when people feel recognized, they are more likely to stay and be engaged in their organization. I'm going to encourage you to think about recognition as beyond just a manager or supervisor and their employee. Recognition really is an equal opportunity for you. If you can get peer-to-peer recognition going in your organization, that can be just as strong. And we'll talk about some platforms to be able to do that. So recognition really needs to happen at all levels within your organization. I was going to ask a question to the group, but I think I'm going to speed along so we have some time for questions at the end, Julie. So recognition, what are some non-traditional ways that you can recognize folks? And I'm going to read out and tell you about some of these things that we've seen that have been very successful. creative awards can be very meaningful. When someone has met their 1-year anniversary, that is a major milestone. And when you give someone a gift at that point in time, they're going to feel like, A, you paid attention enough to know that, yes, this was the 1 year, and to recognize that 1 year with an organization is a tremendous investment of time on both parts. So something to recognize that 1 year anniversary. A recommendation on LinkedIn. That's kind of an unusual one, right? But LinkedIn is the career currency of today, right? So, what if you recognize someone on LinkedIn? Not only are you recognizing them within your organization, but you're recognizing them within their peer professional network. Other ways that you can reward someone with a longer lunch or a sleep-in day or like early release, you can't do this all of the time, but people would really appreciate that. It's low cost and will pay dividends with someone feeling valued. Spontaneous applause. So this is interesting. If someone on your team does something that's really outstanding, kind of tell everybody else on the team, and then have an appointed time at 10 o'clock when Julie comes in and sits at her desk. We're all going to just spontaneously start applauding, and Julie's going to wonder what's going on, and then include her in. It sounds silly, but these types of things are really meaningful to people. Having a wall of fame that anyone can post to at any point, this really gets to that peer-to-peer recognition along with the manager-supervisor recognition, where you can post on a wall a Post-it or an index card, or it's a way to go. Julie, really appreciate what you do. This, whatever it is, small, affordable. This is an interesting one, charitable donations, kind of a riff on some of those game shows, those TV shows sometimes where the celebrities, when they win, they donate the winnings to their favorite charities. Same type of thing. So maybe when an employee does something exceptional or a team does something exceptional, that team can decide on a charity where the organization can donate, I don't know, $100, $50, whatever is reasonable. That's a real feel-good way to recognize someone, and it has a ripple effect out into the community. Share the troll. So sometimes there's a pass the whatever it is, the trophy for the day or for the month. Takes on real significance. People can display it at their desk. People can come and talk to them about it. It's just a nice visual way to recognize someone. It makes them feel good, and then they get to pass it on to the next person. So they're almost taking part in passing that recognition on to another employee. And then if you want to spend a little bit of time talking about online platforms, and these can be simple or they can be kind of complex. So a lot of organizations, a lot of companies out there do have created these types of platforms that can be fairly affordable. Bonusly is one. Make recognition fun. I mean, it's an app basically, and you can give people points. Or when they do something good, you can give them 10 points or 20 points or however many points, and then at a certain point value, maybe you get your name up on a board, or maybe you get a gift card to Starbucks or something like that. It's a fairly affordable platform, somewhere around $2.70 to $4.50 per employee per month. These platforms are kind of subscription-based, so you can you don't have to subscribe forever. Maybe you want to do a limited term recognition campaign, and so you subscribe to this for a short period of time, because people, it does get stale sometimes, so changing it up, I think, is advisable. This is one platform you might think about. Another one that's kind of fun, Tribute, is where you can create a video tribute, and you can invite your friends. So if I want to recognize Julie for being an outstanding moderator and keeping me organized for this webinar, and I had maybe 2 or 3 people help me, and also other presenters work with Julie, we might all create a little video snippet where I videotape myself thanking Julie. The program puts it all together, and now we send the link to Julie, who gets this video montage about how great she is to work with. I mean, how would you feel if you received something like that? And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's low cost. You don't even have to use the platform. I mean, you could use Skype or something, and a webinar tool, video on a phone. Just record it and send it to someone. Video is an interesting platform. I like this one too. Kudo Board. Kudo Board is free for up to 10 posts, and we use this here for a birthday. Kaylin on my team, one of my teams recently had a birthday, and it's online, and you send it out to however many people you want to provide some birthday wishes for, in this case, Kaylin. But you could do it for recognition as well. So again, if a team member did something really well, maybe you've got 5 people on the team, you send it out to the other 4 and say, hey, Julie did a really great job with this. Let's give her some appreciation. You can pick pictures to put up there. You can type in text of what you want to say. And then Julie gets a link and she opens this up, and she's got all of these messages with fun and interesting, humorous sometimes pictures that just make her feel all warm and gooey inside. And appreciated. So lots of different things. We have an internal thing that we do on SharePoint here, which if you have, I know a lot of agencies use SharePoint, so if you have that as a tool, turn that into a way to recognize and just create a little list maybe where you can give praise to people. Make it simple, even with a card sometimes, just a simple card that's printed up that you can pass out to people, or writing thank you notes. I know it sounds simple, but this type of recognition, honestly, is the most powerful. I've had people come back to me who've worked for me years later and tell me that they still have cards that I wrote to them, telling them how important they were to our team and what an impact they had by doing the work that they did and how much I appreciate them. That means so much to people. That will make your culture magnetic. That will help you retain people. So I know we've gone quickly through 5 different strategies. I've tried to give you some practical tools and steps along the way. Hope you've been able to pick up some ideas that you can implement. And I think before we wrap it up, we will turn it over to Julie to see if there are any questions.
Thank you. We actually do have probably more questions than we have time for, but let's get started. So first question that came in is, how can mentors help with retention?
Oh yeah, mentors can be a huge help with retention. It kind of goes back to that training and development strategy. It also helps you with your knowledge transfer, which is an important thing in today's workforce. So yeah, if you have a mentor who can be paired up with someone, again, it's showing that investment in that person. It's developing that person. It's giving them new skills. It's kind of recognition in a way, because you're saying we value you enough that we're going to have this mentor, this person come and share their words of wisdom with you, so that you will be have more opportunity within the organization. So having a mentor really fits in nicely with these strategies.
Okay, so here's a question that came in actually during the presentation instead of toward the end, and that is, do you have information on how effective exit interviews are? It seems like most people wouldn't want to burn bridges, so they may not be truthful.
Yeah.
How can you?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. No, you're absolutely right, which is why we really recommend the stay interview.
There you go.
I don't have hard data, but what we know from the work that we've been doing with our customers is that exit data is not very helpful for identifying those real key retention factors. As you said, a lot of times it's too late. They don't really want to burn bridges. Or the other two, they're so jaded, they've gone so far that really the experience they're conveying is a little bit skewed. So those are the 2 problems with that. I would really recommend doing the stay interviews to get the best data that's actionable.
That is a great strategy, and thank you very much. We are actually at time now, So, Melissa, I want to thank you so much for a great presentation, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. We will send an email with a link to today's recording and the slide deck. Thank you. Have a great day.